the appointment setter role in a nutshell. Something we tend to do as marketers, I'm talking about myself, is I tend to overcomplicate things because I think at such a fast rate and I'm so technical that I get way too in the weeds about things. So you'll notice in this presentation, I'm going back to the basics. If you get the basics done right, you can do very well. Do not overcomplicate this. Okay, so appointment setters at the fundamental level, they're trying to set appointments from new leads and database leads. So my closers now also call their own leads they've spoken to, they're doing follow-up, they're sending emails out, they're doing all the other tasks. There's no shortage of tasks. I actually need them doing more. So they have plenty of things to fill that time with, yeah. So they're confirming those appointments, the follow-up reschedule, outbound and outreach. So if there's not enough inbound, that's when I'm sending them to the colder leads in my list. So we have a hot leads list. Those are the ones that came in recently from our marketing efforts. And then we have the people who have been in our database. We have 20,000 plus people in our database. So there's plenty of people they could be reaching out to if the hot list would run dry, which it doesn't. But if it did, they have those as well. And then they have to report the numbers daily. I've learned weekly is not enough when it comes to setters. And I'll tell you what our goals are for them and all that, and you could take it, copy it, or use what's best for your company. But this is what's worked for us really well. So this is the structure. I'm going to start on this right side here. So I told you, because we're talking about the daily metrics that I have them. Every single day, end of day, we have it around 8 p.m. But if obviously you could use to your discretion that they must submit this in the chat where we can see it. So the leadership team can see it. But we're seeing the number of calls and texts, the number of answers they had, the number of voicemails left, the number of people interested, number of people booked, number of follow-ups, and then number of social media conversations. So if you have them doing outbound or outreach on social media, that's an important line item there. And then over here, the actual role itself. So I'm sure many of you are wondering, how do I find these setters? What does the compensation structure look like? Just how does this whole structure look like? So I've had it a couple of different ways. There's been times I've had one setter for 2 closers or even 3 closers, and it was fine. It worked. Obviously, they would like more. One thing that's really important when you introduce setters, if you already have a closer, is don't let them become a lead baby, is what we call it. Don't let them start thinking they can slack off just because someone's booking for them. They still need to be doing their own outbound as well and be hungry. That's formed bad habits for our team that we've had to drill back into them because they were oh, I don't need to book my own appointments because I have setters doing it. So now what we have is we have 1 setter per every closer. That's just the structure we have. The compensation could vary. I've had many different setters. Luckily, some of them have stayed with us for years, but it just depends. What's important to your company? I'm a huge fan in virtual assistants and virtual scaling. I think that is the future for agencies. And that's coming from someone who has a physical office, right? But I just think virtual is so scalable. I found the work ethic of people overseas is they're very hardworking. They're very loyal. They care about the opportunity because the money you're paying them, while it's not a lot to us, is life-changing for them. So I found a lot of great commitment through that. And I'm very passionate about helping people to do that. But we've compensated all different ways. So I would say right now we have 2 setters from Mexico. We pay them $6 an hour. We do not pay them any commission at all. And their goal is to set 3 appointments a day. We really want it to be at 5, but we have some of the stronger setters were at 5. They're a little bit, hence the $6 an hour. Their setting is a little bit lower than my guy who would set 5 a day. But $6 an hour, you can't go wrong. And they're very happy. So that's what we have right now. They're from Mexico. I've had someone in Colombia, for example. He was, I think, between $8 and $10 an hour, and we paid him $50 per appointment shown. And he was making thousands and thousands of dollars a month, which over in Colombia, that's really, really good money. And then I also have people, for example, I just got off the phone yesterday with someone I'm considering bringing on who's commission only. He's done setting, he has experience, but he wants even more experience. And he's willing to come on for just $20 per shown appointment, commission only. So there's different setups you can have. I've done all 3 of those setups. So I paid people a little higher. I paid them just base. I paid them base plus commission. And then I've also done commission only. So there's a couple different ways you could set it up, just depending on your company structure, like how hands-on you are with things, how much you feel you could trust and outsource, etc. Like that will really just play into it. But I've done all three, and I've had success with all three. So that's kind of the structure we use there for the appointment setters. The benefit is, I don't know about in any of your industries, but like I'm in the roofing space, a lot of roofing contractors speak Spanish. So the benefit of them being in Mexico or Colombia is they're Spanish speaking. We have a whole line of products that are just in Spanish for our Spanish market. So it's actually beneficial to have people overseas who can call.